so in this next photograph, I want you to notice a couple things. First of all, the clothing that the woman is wearing, and then the baby that she has in her arms. And then the general look on her face, where she's sitting, her attitude. How would you describe her? So think about that and jot down some adjectives. And then I'm going to read the words that are below the photograph. This is an excerpt from some writing that Charles Dickens did when he first started writing. He was a reporter, a journalist, and a court reporter, and as you may have read already or heard from me, he walked around the city of London for hours at a time and observed people, and then included his observations in his writing. And here's a description of a typical woman, not necessarily this woman, but a woman that he has seen who's probably living in utter poverty, probably has a very rough life, and also children. So here's what it says under the photograph. The wretched woman with the infant in her arms, round whose meager means very, very small, meager form the remnant of her own scanty shawl is carefully wrapped, had been attempting to sing some popular ballad in the hope of wringing a few pence from the compassionate passer-by. A brutal laugh at her weak voice is all she has gained. So we see this sad woman trying to sing. She has a little shawl wrapped around her shoulders, trying to sing a song in order to wring a few pence from the compassionate passerby, try to get a few pennies, a few pence from somebody walking by who might, donate that money to her. But does she get it? No. A brutal laugh at her weak voice is all she has gained. So consider those words and the image and jot down 2 to 3 adjectives to describe this image. And then I'll move on to the next slide. This is a photograph of people bringing all their goods to a market. And unlike modern day grocery stores, all the people of London got their produce, their vegetables, their fruit, their bread, their meat, eggs, all of that sort of thing. Even though they're living in the city, they got that from farmers, from vendors who would bring that in from the surrounding countryside into these central markets. And so as you can imagine, they were really busy. And they didn't butcher the cows or the sheep or the goats or anything outside of the city. They brought them in herds and walked them through the city streets, and then they did the butchering in the markets. So all of the blood and guts, and think about all of those cows that had to be walked through the streets, going to the bathroom as they're brought in. So all of that is in the middle of town. And we'll read more about this, but just look at the amount of things stacked on these people's carts, the baskets, and so on. Describe this picture in a few adjectives. Here's another a photograph that gives you sort of a sense of the overcrowding and the air pollution. Think about what a city would look like if every single person, every single household, every single family heated their rooms with a coal fire. So all of that smoke was put into the air every day, and this was a very, very crowded city. And so I wanted you to kind of get a sense of this. Part of it could be the photo quality, but definitely everything that we've read, that you read about the era, says that there was just this blackish, brownish smog, this sort of foggy, polluted air hanging around the city. And here in this last slide, we'll stop here in this segment. Look at the mass of bodies. Look at all of the vehicles. Look at the horses. Look at how crowded this street is. I just wanted you to get a sense of the packed streets and the overcrowding that really became an issue, a problem in the Victorian era in London. And this is that same St. Paul's Cathedral dome that we saw from the other picture on the river. So just observe this photo for a minute and then write down 2 to 3 descriptive words before we stop this segment.